Dean Legge, Matt DeBary, another edition of Riding Home. Thanks for watching. Let's talk about what Kirby had to say on 680 The Fan last week, Matt. I'll read the quote to you, and you tell me where you think he's going with this, if you can even figure that out.
Yeah.
It says, at the end of some spring practices, we might see some more movement in there where guys are coming off of spring to see where they are on depth charts. There will be another movement of guys. We'll be looking to get some guys, but we are also looking at high school guys. There are two or three scenarios out there that people are not thinking outside the box. That will be interesting to see if those play out. If you look back last year at this time and said, okay, if a kid's not signed, how do they end up at a place? There have been reclassifications. There's been kids who announce that they're going out of the portal that are not actually signed. You don't actually sign until you enroll. There's a lot of wiggle room left of these for these kids. It will be interesting to see how it plays out. What's he talking about?
He's talking about making his team better. He's talking about finding different ways to make his team better. He made the quote there. People aren't figuring out, how to do some of this. I don't know if he's talking about other college coaches aren't looking at it
Yes.
the same way he is, or if media isn't looking at it the same way either. But I don't think he's looking at too many high school kids. We've seen some guys reclassify, like Tony Grimes did, reclassifying and playing for North Carolina last year. He was originally in the 21 class, very good player, made an impact for them. But if there's a high school guy out there that they have their eye on and they think can make an impact, they would have signed him already. So I think instead of trying to get a high school kid to reclassify and enter earlier than expected, you'd probably just be better off taking a kid from the transfer portal who has experience already. And Georgia's done okay in the transfer portal. They've had a lot of guys come through who made an impact.
Yeah.
And I still think that's still probably the way to go. But like you said, there's a lot of wiggle room. There's a lot of gray area, what you can and can't get away with. He knows all the rules. His support staff knows all the rules. They know what they're doing. And that's how you build a program like this. So he's always trying to think of some way, Dean, to make his team better. And that's what he kind of expanded on. It felt like he gave some details there, but I still didn't really pick up on a ton. He basically said, we're still trying to get kids no matter what, and we're still looking. And I texted you last week, they got JT Daniels in May of last year.
Yeah.
So when the spring comes around, there's going to be kids who decide that, okay, I'm not going to play much. I might as well transfer now. And they're still obviously looking for kids in the portal to come through. So we're going to see a lot in the spring. And if a lot of these guys don't improve, they could see some younger guys take their spot, or they could, again, go to the transfer portal. So there's still plenty of ways Georgia can get better, and Kirby Smart's looking for that.
Well, there's a lot to discuss here. I do want to start off with the basic math here, which is that Georgia has 83 guys as it stands right now that are against their scholarship number. Before I get corrected about that, that number is based on people who have signed, who are still around. That also takes the assumption that there's one place kicker on scholarship and not two. That also means that two players, Avante Wyatt and Justin Schaefer, are guys who are not against the number. So they're underneath right now. And if guys leave at the end of spring, they're going to be underneath then too. Kirby doesn't say stuff without, he doesn't just pop off.
Yeah.
He's signaling here, hey, we're going to get some other people. At what point have they not gotten other people? I mean, day one, Mo Smith, grad transfer, but transfer came in right away. JT Daniels, needless to say, has been one of the most significant transfer portal people, because the transfer portal, Matt, has only been around for so long. Justin
Right.
Fields' transfer was one of the first ones. Tate Martell, guys like that. So this has become a new world that we're living in, and Kirby and them are trying to master it. Now, the question I have kind of is, are there any 22 guys that are out there that are sort of big national 22 kids that Georgia could be after, who are possible early guys, not just early, but reclassification guys?
Not that I know of. That's something I'll be double checking this week, because that comment did stick out to me. I started thinking, okay, which guy's on board could be able to do that. And I still think it's really early for them to be making that decision. I guess I'm trying to think of when
The
Tony Grimes made his
it
decision, but it
was
was after
Yeah, it
February.
was late. No, as I
Yeah,
recall, it was in closer to the summer.
yeah. And it depends on what school you go to. I mean, a lot of these kids, if they were going to do that, they'd be on track already. They would have kind of made that known. So of the current commitments, I don't know of any who's on that path, but there might be a guy who they have silently committed, who they have a plan for, who's just not publicly committed right now. But this is something that Kirby thought of months ago. Even during the season, he has to have an eye on next season and the future, basically. And he knows that, hey, if I have these guys who decide they want to transfer either at the end of the regular season or after the spring, I need to have my eye on a few guys. And when someone hits the transfer portal, they do their research on the kid, no matter where he's from. They're always out there looking to improve, and that's what you need to do. You have to keep making your team better, even if you're a top 5 ranked team going into the season like they are.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the board, which is over here, it seems like I'm looking away. I'm just really looking to my left. There's no real spot that they got to have help. Defensive back, I think you could make the argument that they should look at there. They got 4 quarterbacks on scholarship, 6 running backs, 11 wide receivers, 5 tight ends, 18 offensive linemen, 17 on scholarship, 18 former scholarship, 12 current scholarship, 13 total, 13 linebackers, 13 DBs, and 2 guys from special teams that are on scholarship. They're going to need a punter at some stage here soon, Matt. I don't know when that will be, but there's no like hole, and you don't want that. You want people who will come in and add a little salt and pepper, not a lot. Like you don't need a starter. They needed a starter at quarterback coming out of this past year, and look where that got them. That was not ideal.
Yeah. They might be able to use another starter at cornerback, but I don't think there's anyone in the portal right now who could jump and start at Georgia over a healthy Keely Ringo and Jalen Kimber, a veteran Amir Speed, or guys like that. There's still a few guys who have been around a while, haven't broke through yet, but they were talented enough 4 years ago for Georgia to accept them, in their class. So they have to have some talent to them, but they do need help there. I mean, just they lost so much. Tyson Campbell, Eric Stokes, Richard
Definitely
LeCount,
did. Yeah.
Stevenson. They have to reload there, and I'm not sure that they have enough behind those guys. So that's definitely a place where I think they're going to look at maybe another receiver if Don Blaylock is not healthy going into the season. If
You
Rosie
really think they
Jackson
need
is
another
not,
receiver?
if guys like Demetrius Robertson aren't
He's not
getting
on
it
my.
done,
He's not on my
I mean,
list. Yeah, he's not in there. That's another guy. Like Demetrius would not count against your 85 anyway.
yeah,
I mean, so
yeah,
if you can get Demetrius to stick around, I don't
yeah.
see why not.
If you can find a game changer, which is what they're looking for, especially on offense, a guy who can stretch the field, make explosive plays. That's the word we've been hearing about for a while now. If they think they can bring in an explosive playmaker, then I think they would look at that as an option.
But
But right now, it's defensive back.
the thing about it is, I had a coach at Georgia tell me not so long ago. Do you think Kirby's going to bring somebody in here who he thinks is going to, not get us better? Like, essentially the comment was, we're only looking for game changers,
Yeah,
and that's hard to do at any spot. But when you're down to essentially 2 scholarships, don't be the scholarship Nazi out there and like in the comments below sort of critique. Well, your numbers are wrong. I'm not suggesting they're 100% correct, but they're about as right as anybody's out there. I meticulously keep count here, but I also know that the football department literally like JT Daniels could be not on scholarship right now, in theory. There's no telling what they can do whatever they want to do. So, but the number is basically 83, and there is. I mean, I'm just trying to search for a spot. When you lose Eric Stokes, that hurts. But you've got guys, younger guys as well, that were top 100. I mean, they have 3 top 100 DBs who are signed and will be in the program for the Clemson game who have never played for Georgia before, and that includes Keely Ringo.
yeah. And I like Keely Ringo a lot, but it goes back to what you said earlier. They have to have game changers. I mean, they can beat everyone on the schedule, but you want
Yeah.
to beat Alabama, you have to have game changers. You have to have the best players in college football if you want to beat the best team. So when you're at a position like this, and I do expect some people to transfer out of Georgia at the end of the
Of
spring. So
course.
uh, there's still plenty of options. There's room for two more, like you said, and there could be room for even more if a few other guys to say, okay, I'm going to test my last year somewhere else.
We've got a lot to say about these and other topics. Make sure you're clicking the playlists above to check out what we're having to say. We'll see you over on the website.